Hey guys, Pinobi here, bringing you actually another Yu-Gi-Oh! Decklist video. This one is going to be something I call Mist Valley Stun. Basically, there's a new card that came out, well, fairly new, called Mist Valley Falcon, which is kind of the key player of the deck. And it has a really unique effect, which is that, to read it verbatim, this card cannot declare an attack unless you return one card you control to its owner's hand. So basically, I thought of cards that you can abuse with this card, and it has 2,000 base attack, level 4, which is pretty unique, considering that its effect is not really too negative. But yeah, so we're gonna look at exactly how you can manipulate this ability to take advantage of it. So let's just go on with the build. Obviously, as we just covered, 3 Mist Valley Falcon, 2,000 beat stick, pretty much the all-star player of the deck. Next we have 2 Breaker the Magical Warrior. This deck is, as I said, Mist Valley Stun, so it's going to have some stun aspects, one of which is high beaters, which Breaker works well with. It's going to, as you'll see later, combo with a lot of spell cards in the deck. Also, you can bounce it back with Mist Valley Falcon's effect when it attacks, to summon it later to blow up more spell and trap cards. So it's a really good back row hate, basically. Next we have 2 Thunder-King Rai-Oh. Really great card. This deck works pretty slow, because of course it's an anti-meta deck, so it's not going to be running like, you know, a bunch of speed play cards like Tuning or Rhoda, you know, a Black Whirlwind. It shuts down all that kind of stuff, and obviously you can offer it to negate a special summon of a monster, which is good to stop synchros, good especially things like Black Rose that can nuke your field, because this deck is very field control based. So yeah, really good card for the deck. Next we are going to get into the more stunish engine. Well, not engine, but you know what I mean. Stunish backbone to the deck. 3 Koa'ki Gaurdian, 1900 attack, 1200 defense, and you can offer it off to negate the activation of an effect monster's effect. And of course, at the end phase, you have to reveal a rock-type monster in your hand, or else he's destroyed. That's why you're playing things like Thunder King and Breaker at 2 as opposed to 3, is because you need more deck space for rock-type monsters to keep these guys alive. But yeah, shuts down monster effects, which is something that most spell and trap cards can't do at a 1-for-1 ratio. So that's why you're going to run him at 3. Next we have 2 Koa'ki Sandman. Good card, 1900 attack, 12 defense, same stats as Gaurdian. The only difference is you tribute him off to negate a trap card, and same maintenance cost of revealing a rock, which he is a rock. Then we've got 1 Koa'ki Wall. I actually only own 1 Koa'ki Wall, but he's really the reason you run him at 1 basically is because trap cards and monster effects are a little bit more threatening. Spell cards are usually speed based, except for, you know, the big plays like Dark Hole, things like that. Although Heavy's gone, and the most of the field presence in this deck is going to be back row, so spells aren't as destructive. So it's more important to negate traps and monsters. So that's why you're only running 1 wall. Next, we have 2 Legendary Jujitsu Master. Really great card for stun decks. 1800 defense. Whenever he's attacked when he's in defense mode, the attacking monsters return to the top of the deck. And you're going to see that with the spell and trap lineup, it is a really strong card in this deck. We'll go over that a little bit more in depth in a minute. And lastly, for our rock-type monsters, we have 1 Neo-Spacian Grandmole. Gets rid of synchros, helps clear out monster field. It can give, you know, a monster like Thunder-King Rai-Oh really strong field presence. Let's say they keep setting something like Reaper or something like that, something that Thunder King can't get past. You know, you can obviously continuously bounce it and then hit them directly and things like that. And then for our last monster card of the deck, we have Speak to the Devil, 1 Spirit Reaper. Just because can't be destroyed by battle, so he's a really solid card. This deck isn't like archetype based, so you don't really need to fill it up with, you know, archetype based cards. So he's a good fill-in. Also, you can knock away hand advantage, and this deck is really good at keeping your opponent's monsters at bay. So it you can usually get a few chip-ins. Alright, so let's move on to the spells. We're going to go to, the key spell of the deck, which is 3 Burden of the Mighty. Really amazing card, works really well with this deck. Yeah, you want to have continuous cards and a lot of spell and traps in this deck, so you always have something you can easily bounce with Mist Valley. You usually do want to bounce a spell or trap card, since, you don't have to waste your summon that way. And, Burden of the Mighty decreases the attack of all your opponent's monsters by 100 times their level, which is really good because you're running a lot of 19 beaters, which with 1 or 2 burdens on the field is really, really hard to run over without spell and trap support. And this deck does pretty well at stopping that spell and trap support from going through, or affect monsters' effects. But also works really well with Legendary Jujitsu Master, because with Legendary Jujitsu Master on the field, most of their monsters will have a hard time climbing over 18, so they'll have to waste all their spell and trap cards on them. Next we have some staples. Monster Destruction, we have 1 Dark Hole. Thought about putting a Smashing Ground in this deck just because, the monster effects are mostly about negation, not destruction. So if they have like a Reaper or something that already gets on the field that has, like a continuous effect that can't be negated, it could be a little hard to get rid of. But the deck kind of relies on Grand Mole and a few other cards for that, and, Dark Hole. But 1 MST for a little extra back row hate. Protect your 19 monsters, in advance by trying to hit those bottomlesses and things like that. Also, works well with Breaker to just pretty much shut down their back rows. 1 My Body is a Shield. Pretty much just protect your monsters, like I just said. Also can stop plays like Black Rose, Dark Hole, big plays. 1 Reborn, just to get back your, Thunder Kings or Reapers or, pretty much anything basically. 1 Trunade. It's similar, it's like your spell version of Mist Valley to bounce your spell and trap cards back, which you'll see why that's a good thing for this deck in a minute. And, also clears back row for big plays. Not that, a static defense type deck like this has as big of plays, like Black Wings or something that swarms, but you can definitely still hit in some heavy damage. Also, it frees you up for things like Reaper. Now, moving on to the Mist Valley Falcon Abuse kind of cards, we have 1 Swords. You can continuously bounce it back either with Trunade or Mist Valley Falcon to make it so that they continuously cannot attack you, which is so important, and yeah, it just really, really shuts a lot of decks down. And 1 Big Bang Shot, because Big Bang Shot says whenever this card's removed from the field, the monster it's equipped to is removed from play. So you can equip it to one of your opponent's monsters, attack, remove this as the cost for the attack, and their monster is gone. You get a replay, can attack them directly. Works great with Mist Valley Falcon and abusing the Spirit Reaper. Works really great just to get rid of monsters that your 19 beaters can't climb over, even with Burden. Especially helps to get rid of monsters that are in defense position that Burden doesn't really weaken. So yeah, really good card. Next, that is all for the spells. This deck's actually really trap heavy, so we're going to go into the traps. First, we're going to go into what we have for negation. We have 1 Dark Bribe. Stops anything, helps you pull off Reaper and things like that. I bring up Reaper a lot. You'll kind of see a little bit more why in a second. 1 Magic Drain, because you're going to hopefully try to keep their hand at bay. They're going to use a lot of their speed cards, and then you're going to negate their big plays, which is going to leave them with small hands, hopefully, which is going to be really important. And Magic Drain is pretty much like a free, bribe on spells. So, assuming that they don't have an extra spell in their hand to ditch. But the thing about Magic Drain is try not to get rid of their speed cards. Try to wait to negate things like Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, stuff like that. This deck is a little bit budget. It doesn't have Solomon Mirror Force, because this isn't like one of my main decks or anything. It's a fun deck, but still works out pretty well. And then we have 2 Trap Stuns for more negation, just to stop their Torrentials, Mirror Forces, Bottomlesses, etc., etc. Alright, moving on, we have our Mist Valley Falcon Abuse trap cards. Also kind of goes with negation. Is 1 Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain negates, you activate it, it's kind of like Spellbinding Circle. It makes it so the monster that is targeted by it cannot attack, and its effect is negated. So really nice, and whenever the monster is destroyed, this card is destroyed. So let's say they summon something like Gale, you activate this, they can't attack, can't use their effect, whatever. Your turn, you attack with Mist Valley Falcon, bounce Fiendish Chain, and then, you know, kill Gale. So that way you can recycle it. And then one Call the Haunted, which if the monster gets like synchroed with, not that you really run tuners, or if, you know, something else happens to it, you can return Call the Haunted and all that good stuff. Then let's see, one Robin Goblin. This card is really fun tech in this deck. I kind of brought up Spirit Reaper a lot throughout the deck. This card basically turns any of your monsters into Reaper. Whenever a monster you control does damage to your opponent's life points, you get to knock a card out of their hand. So it helps with your magic drain. It helps with, you know, pretty much just lowering your opponent's hand size, which makes it really, really ball breaking when you negate their big plays. And since you have Burden of the Mighty, their monsters are going to be pretty frickin' weak, and you have things like, you know, Breaker to get rid of back row support, and Grand Mole to bounce things that you can't run over. So it's pretty easy to get access to your opponent's life points. So really, really, really good tech. Then we have, let's see, 2 Compulse. Stop synchros, stop monsters that get in your way. You can always, you know, bounce them back and then hit them directly and make them drop it. Also, you can save your breakers if you, like, summon and they go to Bottomless it, or save pretty much anything you want when they try to Bottomless or deprison, things like that. Since you are playing some pretty key monsters that are hard to get rid of with Burden, it's nice to be able to give those guys a second life by bouncing them back to your hand or resummoning them next turn. 2 Bottomless, staple. Gets rid of, you know, annoying monsters, stops 6 Sams before they get too crazy, all that kind of stuff. 1 Torrential, staple. You don't have you have field control, but you don't swarm, so you don't have high monster presence. So easy to get pluses with this, you know, torrential potential. And lastly, we have 1 Oppression, because you don't special summon except for with Call and Reborn, so just make sure you play around it. You can bounce it back with Mist Valley Falcon, and then, you know, activate Oppression afterward. Activate Call afterwards. Just remember not to, you know, bounce it at the wrong time so that your opponent will be able to use it. Okay, and that is pretty much the deck. It is pretty fun in my opinion. I love, you know, seeing the look on people's face when you Big Bang Shot or, you know, Fiendish Chain loop them and things like that. This card is really fun, really cool. I thought about running Sark in this deck just to be able to get your, you know, whatever card you need to your hand faster, because this deck doesn't have, doesn't play speed cards. But overall, just really fun. I love being able to use the new Koa'ki males. This deck usually, even though it is kind of budget with no Solemn and no Mirror Force and things like that, it usually does pack an answer for just about everything. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hope everyone enjoyed. Feel free to test this deck out, you know, on your own time. Maybe I'll even throw it up on TCG Player and throw a link in the description so you can do some test hands. If that sounds something like you guys want, feel free to comment, and I could probably do that. So yeah, link will be in the description of the deck list, as people have asked me to do that in previous videos. That's it for me, guys. New Pokemon battle up soon. If you haven't checked my channel out, go ahead and give it a whirl. See if I have other content you'd enjoy. Peace out.